Farmers may be under a lot of stress, and one of the reasons might be is the stress that their crops are under. Mitigating crop stress is a direct path to good yields. And Chief Agronomist Kyle Meece of United Prairie Co-op at Tolono, Illinois, is constantly looking for crop stress to mitigate and suggests that that starts with knowing your fields and what might mitigate stress that a crop might have from year to year.
But the biggest challenges for 2023 was really the lack of rainfall early on. Until about the end of June or first part of July, we didn't see any rain hardly at all. And what we did see was some spotty areas. So we had some scenarios where we had our crop that went 52 days with no rain. Yet it still emerged and it still produced. But stress was a huge challenge that we dealt with. And the one thing that I think is interesting when I look at the plants overall is those growing plants. I had tons of questions this year. My plants seem shorter than normal. How is that going to affect yield? My answer back then was, I don't know. Let's see how this thing pans out. Today I look back and I was like, man, those plants were smart enough to know I'm not going to burn energy putting on vegetative growth, and I'm going to put more of my energy in my root system and what I'm calling the basement of our factory. That's tremendous. And then to turn around those growers that were continuing to maximize and do on year in and year out basis, once we caught those late season rains, that root system went into overdrive and it started gathering as much as it could and reaping the benefits. And I've talked to a number of growers. Corn yields were great. Were they as good as what we've seen in the past? No, but they were good. Bean yields, some places off the charts. Some growers were seeing the highest yielding overall farm averages I think they've ever seen. It's amazing to think about that, but it's just amazing to go back and see what it took to get to that point in time. And that root system is tremendously important to be thinking about.
Right in the middle or late in that dry spell, I visited with you and you said you were working on plans to mitigate stress.
Absolutely.
So what were the plans that worked out to the positive?
So mitigating stress was something that was on my mind well ahead of even going to the 2023 growing season. I got an opportunity to go down to South America this past February and really learn not only about the country overall culture, but their farming operations. Mitigating stress is something that they're doing on a everyday basis in the temperatures and environment that they're dealing with. So coming into 2023, I wanted to look at, what were those stress mitigation tools that we could use? Is it something about, better managing our nitrogen? Is it something about looking at different products that can reduce ethylene production? Is it something as simple as spraying a fungicide? There were some things that worked this year. What I learned more than anything is that when we're trying to mitigate stress, the worst thing I feel like that we can do is be too late to the ball game. If stress is already in play, we need to be on the proactive front of that. And that's sometimes very challenging to do because as growers and even as agronomists, we want to make 2, 3, maybe 4 applications a year. And in the growing season, it's usually a pre-plant trip, a post trip, and then a fungicide trip. So it's always, what can I bolt on to that? I talk a lot about bolt-ons in my book. What's that bolt-on product we can use during this application segment? In some essence, that's what we need to look at. In other essences, if stress doesn't come till after that first application, maybe we need another application. So how can technology help offset some of that? As I look at our capabilities with drone sprayers, as I look at our new John Deere See and Spray sprayer we're going to have in the 2024 growing season, as I look at just becoming a better manager and understanding how to position our crops better and plant the right seed, hybrid variety, these are all mechanisms I think that can help us mitigate that stress. We just got to be on the front end of it.
So the recommendation for a farmer when they're out scouting, look for whatever is stressing that plant and then figure out a way to mitigate.
I think also it's even looking at it well ahead of that time. Using things, using your forecast, using your past knowledge of your farm. There's one thing I'm going to talk about in the presentation on Thursday. Every year that I jump in one of our combines at home and I'm combining beans or harvesting corn, and I maybe have an 80-acre field, and I know this spot in the field is going to be bad. I know it is. It's bad every year. Well, why is it bad every year? What are the action steps that I'm taking? Is there a stress-induced area that I should do something different about? I should manage my operation or my own 80 acres a little bit differently and it's not one size fits all. In my opinion, that's exactly what we need to be doing. And I think our minds are far out thinking sometimes the capabilities of our equipment, but that's changing at a rapid pace. And so I look forward to that. I look at better managing those basically micromanaging those operations, but understanding when that stress is going to come through I'm already trying to understand what stresses could potentially come based off of as soon as I harvest this last year. Did I take a soil test? What's the fertility I applied? How, did I work my ground? Did I implement cover crops? All those are things that if you're not doing, could induce stress later on. So you're just thinking about it all the time.
Kyle Meece of United Prairie Co-op at Tolono, Illinois. I'm Stu Ellis.